on a Sunday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, wearing of her linen, oh, dashing away with a smoothing iron, dashing away with a smoothing iron, dashing away with a smoothing iron. She stole my heart away.
This is Alice, who went to Wonderland, but that was long, long ago. This is Alice, who lived in a new Wonderland, but didn't know it. Alice isn't anyone particularly. She may be your best friend, or perhaps your worst, or even you. Like most girls, Alice dreamed. This is the start of Wonderland. Glamour and good clothes go hand in hand, but clothes depend first of all on the materials of which they're made. Today we have a profusion, a confusion of wonderful fabrics, made from silk, linen, rayon, wool, cotton, tricell, mohair, terylene, acetate, nylon, and from acrylic fibres like orlon, acrylan, and cortel. All these fabrics need the right care and attention. It isn't difficult. It just needs common sense. But if you and Alice don't look after your clothes, you won't have them anymore. This is the final destination of most clothes. Some of these rags will be converted into something new, like fine linen paper. Others will be sold merely as polishing rags. Even here, it's important to know what the material is made of, and not one piece must get into the wrong pile. If you want to save your clothes from ending up in his hands too early, you must know what fibres have been used in the fabric and how to care for them. There are 4 main groups of fibres. The first is animal, of which wool is the most common. The second group is vegetable, cotton for example. The third is chemical, the man-made fibres such as nylon and terylene. And finally, there are the rayon and acetate fibres, which are manufactured from vegetable raw materials, usually softwood. Each fibre has certain properties which decide the behaviour of the fabric when it's washed, dried, and ironed. Wool has a strange structure. Its surface is covered by a layer of overlapping scales. It is also very elastic and can stretch by over 1/3 and still return happily to its original length. This stops wool from creasing too much. Cotton is flat and has a natural twist. It is very rigid and inelastic, but nevertheless is one of the strongest of the natural fibres. Nowadays it can be made drip dry. Nylon has a smooth, hard structure, rather like a plastic rod. It is very elastic and so resists creasing. Like nylon, rayon is smooth in form and it stretches. But rayon remains stretched out, and this thinner strand is naturally much weaker. These are the main fibres: animal, vegetable, chemical, and the acetates. After wear, fabrics must be washed. Water is the first essential. Water has its own way of behaving. It separates off into round drops whenever it can. On some fabrics, it tends to settle on the surface and by itself doesn't penetrate and wet the material properly. Add a drop of detergent. Now the water goes into the fabric and spreads through the fibres so that the dirt can be removed more easily. Let's see it again. The word detergent means cleansing agent and includes soap as well as synthetic washing products.
'Twas on a Monday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, a washing of her linen, oh, dashing away with a smoothing eye, and dashing away with a smoothing eye. She stole my heart away.
Here's the basic recipe for washing. Take warm water. Add sufficient detergent, not too much or too little. Dissolve and whisk into a lather. The clothes must then be immersed and agitated to loosen and remove dirt. That is the usual method for all washing.
'Twas on a Tuesday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, a scrubbing of her linen, oh, dashing away with a smoothing eye, and dashing away with a smoothing eye. She stole my heart away.
Fabrics react to washing in different ways. Take some wool, for instance. Badly washed wool looks very familiar. This felting is due to the tangling of the scales on the fibre. The scales are easily visible when they're magnified 500 times. They all lie pointing in the same direction, so that the fibre is smooth one way and rough the other. When wet wool is rubbed, the fibres move about. But because of the scales, they can move only in one direction. They can't move back and so become interlocked. When wool is washed with the traditional movement of compressing and relaxing the material, two things happen. First of all, some of the fibres form loops inside the fabric. And secondly, as we have seen, others travel forwards as they rub against each other. The moving strands enter the loops, get dragged in further, and then are firmly locked. No amount of force will part them again. The result is a hard lump in which eventually you won't even be able to see the stitches. The only reason that wool doesn't felt while still on the sheep's back is that the roots are firmly fixed, so the fibres just can't travel.
Wet wool, therefore, must be washed without too much agitation. Don't let it get too dirty and it won't need rubbing.
So much for wool. Now, while cotton and nylon remain strong when they're wet, some rayon becomes very much weaker, though its original strength returns when it dries. There is a way of showing this on a machine. A jet of air is forced up under a rubber pad, expanding it like a balloon. A piece of cloth clamped over the pad will burst as soon as it has had enough. Take two pieces of nylon. The one on the left is dry and the other is soaking wet. The wet nylon bursts at 0.7 kilograms, the dry at 0.84. Now try it with rayon. The wet one is on the right. The dry rayon burst at 2.35 kilograms and the wet at 1.55. Quite a difference.
So although rayon is tough when it's dry, it should be handled gently when wet. On the other hand, nylon and cotton, although they may look fragile, remain strong when soaked, and so can be treated more roughly, within reason, of course.
You have seen what the wetness of water can do, but the temperature is important too. Very hot water seldom damages fabrics, but it can change their appearance. Wool, cotton, and terylene all behave differently. And here's another experiment. Take 3 rods. Wind threads of wool, cotton, and terylene round them, and soak them in boiling water. During this process, wool becomes more pliable, cotton is more or less unaffected, and terylene becomes quite soft. When dry, the wool has acquired a curl, but will return to normal when it is wet again. The cotton has hardly changed at all, But Terylene's new form is permanent unless it is reheated. This means that Terylene can be set into pleats and crisp creases if needed. Wool's curl is only semi-permanent, while cotton will always be unchanged even in boiling water. But hot water can affect fabrics in another way too. This drum is made of white material on one side and red the other. Some colors are not fast in hot water, so let's see what happens to the drum and to Alice when they're put in the water. Some of the dye comes away and dissolves in the water, although the fabric itself hardly changes color. This is the red, and this is what was once white. But where is Alice? Poor Alice, no longer whiter than white.
So test colored fabrics first by washing an inconspicuous corner. If the dye runs, wash it by itself.
Any washing product should be used sensibly. The powder or flakes must be dissolved properly before anything is put into the water. As ultraviolet light will show, spots can be caused by undissolved powder.
It takes quite a few moments to dissolve the washing powder completely, so do watch this. Then rinse it away properly afterwards.
'Twas on a Wednesday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, a rinsing of her linen, oh.
Washing is no longer the rub-a-dub-dub drudgery that we have been brought up to believe. Improvements in fabrics, dyes, and washing products, together with new kinds of machines, have made a world of difference to our lives. A robot can choose the right temperature, the right timing, and the right number of rinses. And machines can dry clothes too by tumbling them through hot air.
'Twas on a Thursday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, a drying on her linen, oh, dashing away with a smoothing eye.
Most of us still dry clothes the old way, but even here there are tips worth knowing. Looks like good drying weather. Now, before you look directly at the sun, your eyes need some protection. A filter of some kind, such as dark glasses. Some fabrics also need protection from the sun. Even some white materials, particularly wool. Button a protective shield onto a piece of wet wool. Expose it to the sun and leave it to dry. Strong sunlight will actually destroy the top layer of white that has been added chemically during manufacture, turning it yellow. Only the protected heart remains white. This photochemical destruction takes place on fragile pastel colors too.
'Twas on a Friday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, hanging on her linen, oh.
Drying clothes in fresh air is wonderful for them, but beware of direct sunlight, or like poor sunburned Alice, you'll be sorry.
Drying in front of a fire has the obvious hazards of burning and scorching, but that's simply a matter of using one's common sense. There's another thing to watch. If one part of a colored fabric dries more quickly than the rest, the evaporating water carries any loose dye with it from the wet to the dry part, seen here in speeded up action. Dye can migrate like this in any direction. The movement of dye can be easily seen in a simple experiment. Take an electric element, a tube of red dye, and a single wet fiber. As one end of the fiber dries rapidly, the dye is literally drawn out of the tube from the wet to the dry part.
This is why surplus water must be removed from the clothes after washing, and pattern fabrics must be dried evenly and away from direct heat.
Here's something else to watch connected with loose dyes. Every child knows how to make butterfly patterns, and tacky colors can be transferred like this on wet fabrics if they're left in contact with each other for some time. So don't leave printed materials lying around wet and bunched up. Some dyes can never be 100% fast. This is the price we pay for the demands of fashion. Some colors are reasonably safe, but others produce a shadow transfer while drying. Interesting, but not quite what you want. Of course, some drying is just too easy. Drying nylon really is foolproof. Synthetic fibers dislike water and absorb the absolute minimum, which is why nylon dries so quickly. Here it is speeded up. Man-made fibers like this have made a world of difference to our lives. But when the fiber is woven or knitted, the way it is made up affects its behavior. This shadow graph shows a tightly woven structure which creates no unusual difficulties. But drying anything loose knit needs care because of the open links. Let's take something heavier than a nylon stocking. A pullover made of orlon, another synthetic fabric. It is soaking wet. And this is its twin, quite dry. The wet pullover weighs 3 times more than the dry. The reason for this is that the loops themselves trap drops of water, adding to the weight of the fabric, and so, again seen in speeded up action, pull the garment out of shape. Wool is particularly affected in this way because it is elastic and, unlike orlon, is thirsty as well and becomes soft when wet. In water, wool softens and swells. Imagine that every time you go for a swim, like Alice, you become a third larger than your normal size, and all soft and elastic as well.
So it's important to remove as much of the excess water as possible. Then, to avoid stretching the loops with the weight of water, a woolen garment is best dried flat.
The vegetable fibers like cotton and linen have been with us for a long time. They're simple to wash and to dry. Now, after drying, most fabrics need ironing.
She looks so neat and nimble, pressing out her linen. Oh.
A little care is needed when ironing, particularly with some man-made fabrics. The degree of heat which different fibers can withstand varies, so it's important to know which one you're dealing with. This is a hot electric element. Nylon and rayon, the 2 strips on the right, react very quickly. Wool on the extreme left scorches next, while cotton can stand fairly high temperatures. Watch for a moment how nylon just melts away when in contact with cigarette ash. And remember that the man-made fabrics need only a very cool iron. Even a cool iron can do damage. If fabric begins to soften under heat, then the pressure of a clumsily used iron can stretch and distort the fibers. With acetate, a too hot iron will damage the fabric so that it reflects light, giving it a shiny, glazed look. Even when the temperature of the iron is right, you must be careful with acetate if it is damp in patches like this. The surface of some of the fibers can be distorted, making greasy-looking blobs on the dull finish of the fabric. This kind of highly mechanized future may be the sort of thing Alice and you can look forward to. But machines will never do all the work. And meanwhile, it is up to you and Alice to make the best use of this wonderland you live in. First of all, find out what fiber your material is made of, and then remember how it reacts to water and washing product.
When washing, remember cotton and nylon are strong when wet, but don't boil nylon. With colors, always test for loose dyes. Dissolve the washing powder and rinse away properly. Wash wool without too much agitation to prevent felting. Handle rayon gently, as some rayon fabrics are weakened by water. When drying, keep pastel colors away from strong sunlight. Also white wool, which can turn yellow unless protected. With pattern fabrics, dry evenly to prevent dyes running. With loose knit fabrics, remove the surplus moisture and lay them flat. When ironing, remember that every fibre has its own heat limit. Wool can take medium temperatures. Cotton can stand a hot iron. Nylon melts at low temperatures. Acetate also only needs a cool iron. Synthetics seldom need to be pressed, but when ironing is necessary, don't be clumsy. Rayons must be ironed with care and when very slightly and evenly damp.
Alice and you are living in a modern wonderland. But keep your feet firmly on the ground, even in Wonderland.
'Twas on a Sunday morning when I beheld my darling. She looked so neat and charming in every high degree. She looked so neat and nimble, oh, wearing of her linen, oh, dashing away with a smoothing eye, dashing away with a smoothing eye, dashing away with a smoothing eye. She stole,